So, it was about 2 years ago or so. I had been through, um, I had survived, I should say, um, probably 5 years of severe gang stalking. And it wasn't just physical, like, I was literally being stalked by a group of probably about 12 people, like, consistently, but more like there were probably 30 people involved in the situation. It was a San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Department. They had a judge sign off on some illegal eviction papers. They had an attorney. I mean, they had a private investigator. I mean, it was intensive what they did to me. And then, um, in the course of that, I had people dying left and right, which was all witchcraft. I just didn't understand that yet. I had been through this BS gang stalking had followed me back to my hometown of Santa Barbara, California. I had people try to run me off the road, all kinds of stuff, and I genuinely didn't know, like, for the life of me, I didn't know I didn't know how to respond or what to do about it. I had gone to local law enforcement many times, and they wouldn't listen to me, of course, because the story sounds crazy. I mean, the things that these people were doing to me it was off the charts insane. So, of course, 144 on the timer. So, of course, I really couldn't get anybody to listen to me. They had hacked my Wi-Fi. I mean, you name it, they did it. It was all for real estate. Like, it had nothing to do with me personally, necessarily. But the spiritual aspect of it was disgusting too. One of the things that used to happen to me, and it never happened before these people, set themselves against me. I used to sit in the living room and do art. Like, there was an app called Periscope that was connected to Twitter, and I would just sit and do art all day. Like, that's what I did. And 231 on the timer. And over the course of these people deciding that they wanted to steal this piece of property from the gentleman who was employing me to be his caretaker, to take care of his house and his dog, I paid his bills, all that kind of thing. Just generally took care of the property. And but I would sit in, there was a table in the front room, and all of a sudden, and this is like very odd for me, I would have visions of somebody walking up behind me and slitting my throat. Like, what in the world? And my brain doesn't think of things like that. So I knew that this was out of the ordinary, like way out of the ordinary. So finally, in I think June of 2022, I left. I just left. I didn't want it. It wasn't I couldn't handle it anymore, because I had already been dealing with all of this stalking and nonsense for 5 years at that point. And I just wanted to leave. I was just done. I didn't want to deal with it anymore. I had found out that Jerry had died, the gentleman who had employed me, at his house at 460 Cayes Yellow in Napomo, California. And of course, I found out, like, the names of these people, and the people who subsequently bought the property had something to do with it. They all knew. My neighbors knew. They all knew. They were all in on it, which I know sounds crazy, but like, these were military grade psyops that they were performing on me, as well as a lot of the technology that they were using was military grade. It was no joke. This was hard, and it was harsh. It was cruel, and it violated every civil right that any human has ever had. They stole my mail. I mean, all kinds of things they did. Identity theft, all kinds of things that they did to me. So I finally left, and I found myself living in the two-door Honda Civic that I had at the time, with no heat, no AC, no tint on the windows. So it was like living in a fishbowl. And this stuff kind of it continued in Santa Barbara, from San Luis Obispo County down to Santa Barbara County. And I knew it wasn't I knew at that point, I had so much proof, like so much evidence, like hard evidence, that I knew it wasn't me. It wasn't, my mental health. Because when you're being gang stalked, you will question your own mental health. And like only sane people question their mental health. So, I had gone round and round with all of that. And plus all the grief that I was going through from, 12 people dying in less than 5 years. I mean, it was a tremendous effort to take me out, or to get me to take myself out. And I sought refuge in the mountains of Santa Barbara, my hometown. 543 on the timer. And for the most part, it was a pretty peaceful situation. Like, I was all right for the most part, except when people are trying to run me off the road. Anyway, but things continued to happen. Like, things got weird. A couple times, very strange things happened. And I don't mean like spiritual stuff. I mean like concerning humans. Like, human stuff happened. Very weird. People following me, all kinds of weird stuff. And I didn't know what to do except to just completely disengage from everybody. And, the people that were around me were doing such strange things and saying such strange things to me and lying to me and lying about me that it really wasn't hard to disengage from them. So, and then in November of 2023, I saved a man's life on the highway, and all of a sudden I had this public persona. I had been in the newspaper, I had been on TV. My local community of Santa Barbara came together and donated a tremendous amount of money. I mean, it wasn't like billions or anything, but it was a lot of money for me, to a GoFundMe account that had been organized for me by one of the witnesses of the accident that I had saved the man's life in. And, excuse me, that's when the gang stalking stopped. I mean, it didn't completely stop right away, but it tapered off real fast. And, because I really couldn't continue to do what they were doing to me, with, such a high profile story surrounding me. So I left for 30 days. I went on a road trip with Bella, the first road trip in the Subaru that I was given. And, Subaru gave me a car. There was a lot of money involved. And, it was just like, it was harder for them, I think, to justify what they were doing. And plus I really wasn't, pursuing any kind of like legal action towards them or anything like that. So between that and then like, the heightened risk for them to continue doing what they had been doing to me, it tapered off. And I remember finding myself in the redwood forest in Humboldt County. And the whole time I was on this 30-day road trip, like, I felt watched. And I don't mean like person, like people. Confirmation. Oh, goodness, that's really strong confirmation. I don't mean like people watching me. It wasn't like that. It was spiritual. And that was about when I started realizing that, like, I was on some really trippy spiritual awakening. And, I didn't really know what to make of it all. I went back to Santa Barbara, and I lived in my car for like another 2 years. But over that time, there were so many strange things that happened that, all I could really account for it all with was a tremendous, like, ascension. I didn't know, I had always been, like, I had always had Christ in my life, but I hadn't always walked so closely with him. And even like old videos on this channel, I think you'll see where like the Lord had me, and I thought it was very strange because I've never been into divination, like tarot cards and oracle cards and all that kind of thing. I had never really been into it. Confirmation. I had never really been into it. I mean, it wasn't really something I sought out in particular in my life, like in my whole lifetime. I started reading tarot cards when I was about 17, and I was really good at, like, spooky good at it. And as quickly as I picked them up, I put them back down again. And that was about the extent of my experience with them at that time. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I started wanting to listen to tarot card readings. So I started listening to them on YouTube. And I mean, all day, like every day. Like pretty much the first thing I would do when I woke up in the morning was turn on tarot card readings. And this was unlike me. And so I got to know the lingo really well, and I got to know like the patterns of what they were talking about, um, and like the patterns of the psychology and what was going on, like what was really going on behind it all. And then as quickly as I picked it up, like when I was 17, I put it down again. Just gone, like gone. I remember I was in the Santa Fe National Forest when I burnt all my cards, and I just got rid of it and I put it down and never looked back. Like I don't even have any desire to look at them or have anything to do with them or listen to divination on YouTube or any such thing like that. Not at all. But it gave me a really good, because for like a year I listened to them every day. And it gave me a really good window into what the enemy was doing. And during that time, I started to realize how much of our world is witchcraft, is built upon witchcraft, is built upon divination, is built upon like all these different things. And I don't mean just like the bending of people's will and like manipulation. I mean like hardcore, like ritualistic witchcraft. And I mean everything from movies to concerts. I remember I don't have any, I don't like Taylor Swift or Beyonce or any of those artists, but I remember they kept popping up in my YouTube feed, and I thought, well, this is odd. And I would watch like a short, like maybe 60 seconds of them performing, and I thought, that looks like a witchcraft ritual. That's what that looks like to me. And then like seeing how, and I remember this when I was younger too, like things like New Kids on the Block and Backstreet Boys would come out, and all the girls and a lot of the guys too, like in my schools, like my elementary school, junior high school, they would just go batshit crazy over these, what I thought were like not very good artists, not very good music, like catchy, but not very good. And I mean, all the time, like I was listening to like Led Zeppelin and things like that. It just didn't ever jive with me. And I always thought it was weird because people like really, just went crazy over these artists. And that's a lot of what I see now. And I mean, it's similar. And in a lot of ways, in the way that it's done through satanic ritual and channeling demons and all this kind of thing, and how these artists talk about having alter egos and all this kind of, it's like that's demonic. That is straight up witchcraft. Like they're being, and like all the movies that they put out and most of the music, and the way that marketing and advertising is done, like that is witchcraft. And I know it sounds wild, but it's just the truth. Everything from like clothing brands, I mean, like the branding thing, it's very odd to me how, when people were slaves, and I don't mean just like black, people with dark skin slavery. I mean like slavery throughout the whole world. In Asia, amongst the Chinese and Spanish, like Spain was a major slave trade country, and I mean all kinds of things that went on before the African slave trade even started. And not that I'm not discounting anything, I'm just saying like there was a lot of slavery going on long before, like ancient Rome was built on the backs of slaves easily. And like most of the people in Rome were not Roman citizens, they were slaves from outside of the country. And like all these different things, like brand, like, and one of the ways that you identified your slaves was by brands. You branded them. And what do we wear on our clothing nowadays? Brands. That is not coincidental. money, the way that money is usually made, and confirmation, the way that money is made and held onto, and the makeup. Oh God, and like these huge companies like Sephora and Ipsy and all these different MAC and all these different companies that like just turn out enormous amounts of makeup for women to paint their faces. Like, that is all Jezebel Leviathan spirit. All of it. Disgusting. And I don't, it became really clear to me how vile our world is. Like, not the whole world, but like a lot of it. And how people literally sell their souls, like willingly and unwillingly, knowingly and unknowingly, to these companies. Most people are in debt. Even today, like, most people are in debt to these credit card companies, and it's like the banks. They're slave drivers of a whole different kind. I remember, the news, like, how influential the news is, and how the news is a perpetrator of fear, and fear, like, to bend somebody's will, to make somebody afraid, is to bend their will. And if you're bending someone's will, that is witchcraft. Witchcraft can be something as simple as confirmation. Witchcraft can be something as simple as speaking badly about somebody. And it can be as involved as like a full-on ritualistic, like, incantations and the whole thing, like Bohemian Grove, and Masonic rituals and all kinds of different things. There are a lot of witches in churches, a lot. There's a lot of witchcraft in our food, as far as like genetic tampering, like genetically modified organisms. That's witchcraft. Like, they're altering our food. Like, a lot of the government is witchcraft. Our courts, like our judicial system, witchcraft. It goes so deep. There's so many things. Confirmation. There's so many things that we, like, all of our pagan holidays. I mean, it really depends on the spirit in which you're celebrating it, but I just don't celebrate most holidays at all. Like, not at all. I celebrate Jewish holidays, like the Feast of Trumpets and Passover and things like that. But any kind of pagan holiday, Easter, mostly, Christmas too, but of course I celebrate Christmas as the birth of Christ, not anything else. But all these holidays, the whole, like, Halloween thing. Halloween is a big one. Like, I do not even understand why people, and especially people who are Christian, celebrate Halloween at all. Like, if they really understood what that is about, it's not of Christ at all. Even to a great extent, like putting on jewelry and any kind of expensive, like, baubles. Like, I love my silver earrings, but like, all of that is witchcraft too. These things were taught to humanity, mostly by Azazel. These things are things that the fallen angels taught humanity. Now, the Bible says that the fallen are chained in Tartarus until the day of judgment. However, I'm not really sure about that anymore. I'm not sure if they're still there. I don't know. The Lord hasn't told me what exactly is going on with that, but I've seen a lot of evidence that their children, the Nephilim, have been perpetuating and persisting in generating over and over through new generations the generational curses that they've always perpetuated. That's what they do. And they've been preparing the way for the fallen to return. I don't know what else they're doing. I really genuinely don't know why else they would continue perpetuating it, because they don't really. They don't really benefit from perpetuating the exact same things unless their parents, so to speak, are going to return. Now, the Lord has told me that we will see things like the giants return. That we will see these physical things, that they were real. Of course, the Bible tells us that. But that we will see the return of a lot of these beings. And I mean, that's wild. I don't even really know what to say about that. Some of the things that the Lord has shown me are just off the charts. Like, I don't really know what to say about it. Not all of it has biblical precedence, so confirmation. So I really don't, some of it I cringe to talk about, because I don't have any evidence to tell people or show people other than what the Lord has told me, which, can get a little sticky. And, having the calling that I have, I'm very careful about disseminating information that is not, it's not that it's not biblical, it's just that I don't have any evidence, any biblical evidence to back it up. But now we're seeing, I mean, like, really when I was just, anyway, okay, so, sometimes the Lord gives me confirmation on what I'm thinking. So my nose will start itching because I just had a thought. The Lord's been telling me that there will be confirmation of it, and of the things that He's shown me, the things that He's told me. And it won't be biblical, of course, because it wasn't written down. But all the same, the Lord is not a liar. I don't like, He never lies. He's been talking to me quite a bit about the drones lately. And He's been telling me that there will be bloodshed surrounding them. I don't know how this will happen. I don't know, like, what it'll look like physically, like what that will manifest itself as. But I know that what He's told me so far has come true. All of it. Excuse me. Excuse me. I've been dealing with a significant amount of, like, more than usual amount of spiritual warfare since I got to the Appalachian Mountains, and surrounding Christmas as well. But, like, I also know that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Period. End of story. So, the Lord keeps telling me to tell people, not telling me, but asking me to tell people about discernment. Discernment is key right now. It's absolutely key. Because, like I described in another video, a lot of the things that we might experience are frightening to us because simply we're human. And there are things that we will have no context to deal with. I mean, look at the drone situation. I mean, what? Like, what that's all about. Not all of them are demonic. I do know that. I haven't had any interactions with them, so I couldn't say, like, personally, that I've had any interactions with them, because I haven't yet. But, I know they're not drones either. Like, some of them may be drones, but that's not what we're dealing with in this situation. That's not what they are. The Lord told me that right from the get-go. He told me something was coming. But I just didn't know what. And when I don't like to, I mean, I know that the Lord is not a liar, but also, saying things like that can cause fear, and I'm not about fear at all. Not even a little bit. But I know that the best thing to do right now is to stay close to the Lord, to keep our focus on Him, to pray, especially for discernment and discernment of spirits. When you start to realize and look around at the world, and it really sinks in how much of our world is manipulated by witchcraft of all sorts, knowingly, and deliberate witchcraft and witchcraft that's not really deliberate. It's just people perpetuating the same demonic stuff that they were taught to do. And I mean, I understand all of that because I was caught up in a lot of that too, and I didn't realize that it was witchcraft until much later in my life. I just never thought about it that way, but it is. To disengage from the world right now is one of the best things you could possibly do. And get close to the Lord. Like, keep your eyes on Him. Very important. And to just, I mean, the utter contempt and disgust that I have for the spirits that have been ruling our world is only outweighed by the love that I have for the Lord. And like the complete enslavement that most people find themselves, confirmation that most people find themselves in right now is beyond, like, it's almost beyond comprehension. And how so many of the followers of Christ are still under so much witchcraft. And it's not really their fault. You know, it's not about fault, but it's not really, like, you don't know what you don't know until you know that you don't know, kind of thing. They're unknown unknowns. But I encourage you to pray about what you're not seeing, to pray to have things that are not in alignment with Christ removed from your life permanently. And beware, you may lose your friends, your family members, like I did. And I don't mean that they'll pass away, but they won't want to be in your life anymore. You won't be able to watch the television or movies or any kind of printed magazines or newspapers. You will never be able to, movies, anything. You will not be able to ever watch it again without seeing the horribleness that's behind it. But I can also report from personal experience that it will be the best thing you ever did for yourself. And for your family too. Especially if you have children. But the Lord loves you tremendously, and He will protect you, and He works all things together for the good of those who love Him. So no matter what happens, hang on to the Lord. He's the one thing you can hang on to in this world, who will never betray you, never lie to you, never do you dirty, never turn on you, never forsake you, never leave you. Never. And I hope this video finds you blessed. Love, blessings, and compassion to everyone. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Peace be with you.